In a surprising turn of events, the automotive industry breathed a collective sigh of relief as the United States announced a 30-day postponement of the looming 25% tariffs on Canadian goods, including automobiles. This 11th-hour reprieve came after intense negotiations between President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, focusing on border security concerns. While the delay offers a temporary respite, it has left both manufacturers and consumers in a state of uncertainty, wondering what the future holds for the deeply integrated North American auto sector. Picture this: assembly lines humming across Ontario, Quebec, and Michigan, churning out vehicles that seamlessly cross borders multiple times during production. Now, imagine that intricate dance grinding to a halt. That's the scenario automakers have been dreading since the tariff threat first emerged. For giants like General Motors, Stellantis, Toyota, and Honda, the stakes couldn't be higher. These companies produce roughly 40% of their North American vehicles in Canada, a testament to the tightly woven fabric of the continent's automotive industry. But it's not just the big players feeling the heat. Think about Sarah, a third-generation auto worker in Windsor, Ontario. Her grandfather helped build the first Chrysler minivans, her mother worked the line during the SUV boom, and now Sarah oversees quality control for electric vehicle batteries. The tariffs threatened not just her job, but the legacy of an entire community built around the auto industry. Now, let's zoom out to the broader economic picture. Analysts had been warning of an existential threat to the industry if these tariffs went into effect. We're talking about potential price hikes of $2,000 to $5,000 per vehicle, a staggering increase that would eclipse the typical 10–15% profit margins automakers operate on. It doesn't take an economics degree to see how that could spell disaster, potentially forcing production cuts or even plant closures. But here's where it gets really interesting. The auto industry isn't just about cars anymore. It's about technology, energy, and even national security. The deal that postponed these tariffs? It's tied to narcotics enforcement, requiring Canada to deploy 10,000 border agents and classify drug cartels as terrorist groups. It's a stark reminder of how intertwined trade policy has become with broader geopolitical concerns. Now let's put ourselves in the shoes of a potential car buyer. Meet Mike, a middle-class father of two in Michigan. He's been saving up for a new SUV, eyeing those sleek models rolling off the Canadian assembly lines. The tariff delay means he dodged an immediate $4,000+ price hike, but now he's stuck in limbo. Should he buy now, hoping the tariffs never materialize, or wait and risk prices skyrocketing in 30 days? It's a gamble many consumers are facing, and it's having a ripple effect across dealerships and showrooms. And it's not just about new cars. The used car market is watching closely too. If new vehicle prices surge, you can bet that pre-owned prices will follow suit. It's a domino effect that could reshape the entire automotive landscape, from manufacturing to sales to long-term ownership costs. Speaking of costs, let's not forget about what keeps these vehicles running: fuel. There's a separate 10% tariff on Canadian oil imports still looming on the horizon. If that goes into effect, we could be looking at gas price hikes of 15–25 cents per gallon in the Midwest. For someone like Mike, that could mean an extra $300–500 in annual fuel costs, on top of any vehicle price increases. But wait, there's more. Canada isn't taking this lying down. They had their own 25% retaliatory tariffs locked and loaded, targeting $155 billion worth of U.S. goods. We're talking Michigan-made auto parts, agricultural machinery, and a whole host of other products. While those are also on hold for now, the threat of escalation remains very real. Now let's take a moment to appreciate the sheer scale of what we're dealing with. Over 70% of Canada's auto exports head south of the border. Components often zigzag across the border multiple times during assembly. It's an intricate dance, supply and demand that's been fine-tuned over decades. Even with the tariffs on pause, manufacturers are facing tough decisions about potentially rerouting supply chains, a costly and complex process that could still end up affecting prices in the long run. And let's not forget about the future of the industry: electric vehicles. Canada has recently poured $5 billion into EV investments, betting big on the next generation of automotive technology. But now, those investments are shrouded in uncertainty. Will the plants be economically viable if tariffs hit? Could this slow down the transition to cleaner vehicles right when we need it most? It's not just about the next 30 days either. The automotive sector is playing a long game, making decisions now that will shape the industry for years to come. If tariffs do trigger in March, we're looking at potential average price hikes of $3,000 or more for new vehicles. Popular models, like pickup trucks and SUVs, could see even steeper increases. It's a scenario that has everyone from factory workers to CEOs losing sleep. But here's the thing: the auto industry has weathered storms before. From oil crises to recessions, it's an adaptable beast. Companies are already exploring creative solutions. Some are considering shifting production. Others are looking at ways to localize their supply chains. There's even talk of increased automation to offset potential tariff-related costs. Dealers, too, are getting creative. Some are freezing prices to attract buyers during this uncertain period, while others are slowly inching prices up in anticipation of future increases. It's a delicate balancing act, trying to move inventory while also protecting their bottom line. For consumers, the advice is mixed. Some experts suggest buying now if you're in the market, locking in pre-tariff prices while you can. Others advise waiting, betting that the political pressure will lead to a long-term resolution. And then there's the used car option, which might become increasingly attractive if new car prices soar. But let's zoom out even further and consider the bigger picture. This isn't just about cars or even just about trade. It's about the nature of global economics in the 21st century. We're seeing a clash between the deeply integrated, efficient supply chains built over decades of globalization and the rising tide of economic nationalism. The outcome of this particular dispute could set precedents that ripple far beyond the auto industry. Consider the workers in places like Oshawa, Ontario, or Flint, Michigan. These are communities built around the auto industry, where the factory whistle has marked the rhythm of daily life for generations. The uncertainty isn't just economic, it's existential. What happens to these towns if the industry that sustains them fundamentally changes? And it's not just about blue-collar jobs either. Think about the engineers designing the next generation of electric powertrains, or the software developers creating autonomous driving systems. The auto industry of today is as much about silicon as it is about steel. How will these tariffs, if implemented, affect the industry's ability to innovate and compete globally? There's also an environmental angle to consider. If tariffs make new, more efficient vehicles more expensive, could it slow down the transition to cleaner transportation? In an era of increasing climate concerns, the ripple effects could extend far beyond consumer wallets. As we navigate this period of uncertainty, it's clear that the next 30 days will be crucial. Negotiators on both sides of the border will be working around the clock to find a solution that addresses security concerns without derailing a century-old industrial partnership. Business leaders will be running scenarios, trying to predict and prepare for every possible outcome. And consumers? They'll be watching closely, trying to make the best decisions for their families and their futures. In the end, this isn't just a story about tariffs or trade policy. It's a story about adaptation, innovation, and the complex web of relationships that make up our modern economy. It's about communities, families, and individuals facing an uncertain future. And it's about the choices we make today that will shape the world we drive into tomorrow. As we wait to see what March brings, one thing is certain: the North American auto industry is at a crossroads. The decisions made in the coming weeks could reshape not just how we build and buy cars, but how we think about trade, energy, and even national identity in an increasingly interconnected world. The road ahead may be uncertain, but one thing's for sure: it's going to be one heck of a ride.